is a huge week coming up. Look, we are brought to you by Sam's Chowder House. We have gorgeous pictures of Sam's Chowder House to show you a little bit later on. Maybe even Nicole Yang can judge the quality of the lobster roll since she does write for the Boston Globe. That is absolutely in her wheelhouse of knowledge. And I see, Larry, that she has just clicked on. So let's
She's
not
in
wait
the green
any
room.
time.
Yeah, she's in the green room. And let's just bring her right in right now. Nicole Yang is with us. Nicole, thank you very much for joining us. This is Wake Up. I'm Larry Krueger. That's Damon Bruce. And thank you for your time. We appreciate it. And obviously we're getting ready to see the Patriots and the 49ers come Sunday. A lot of people feel like, this is a gotta have it game here in San Francisco, but I think there's also a real overlooking of New England because they don't have Belichick. They don't have Brady. They don't have star power. But I feel like New England can win this game. Before we get into so many things, what do you think of the matchup? And welcome to our show.
Well, that's very generous of you to say to the Patriots, considering how they performed on Thursday Night Football last week. But I think for the Patriots, this game is about like what their identity is. So in week 1, we saw this pretty sound, plucky team upset the Bengals. In week 2, we saw a couple of their flaws come to light, but they were competitive and they almost upset the Seahawks. But then in week 3, we saw kind of the product that everyone was expecting before the season started, which was just not a very undermanned team, not able to contend with the likes of the Jets, San Francisco. So I think for the Patriots, they're viewing week 4 as like a litmus test. Okay, which team, which identity most resembles the current squad?
Well, Nicole, I know that the future identity might already be in the room with a rookie quarterback, that it just feels like this team is taking its slow approach to Drake May, and it might not even be the reason of Drake May's development that they're slow approaching him. They'd like to see this offensive line get a little better and maybe, have him debut against a lesser opponent than the 49ers, even though they haven't lived up to their expectation or hype so far this year. Can you tell us a little bit about it's sort of a strange quarterback situation because it feels like Jacoby Brissett is a placeholder, not for when Drake May is ready, but for when the team is maybe ready to protect Drake May a little bit better. Do we have that right?
So I think that might be part of it, but honestly, I think they're just waiting until they feel Drake is ready. I'm not really sure how much of the offensive line plays a factor. I think it is a consideration, but they put Drake in for the final 4.5 minutes on Thursday, and the offensive line at that point had looked horrendous, and they were playing with their 4th string left tackle when Drake went in. So they were comfortable putting him in that situation, and he was sacked twice, including a pretty big hit. So I think they just want Drake to be up to speed. I think the offensive line is a part of it, but from my understanding, they view hits as part of the game. Obviously, they want to shore up the offensive line, but it's not the number one inhibiting factor from having Drake be on the field.
Ramondre Stevenson is, you were talking about identity, and he has absolutely been the identity, the offensive identity so far. What do you think of the job he's doing, and can a running back get this team where it needs to be before Drake is ready to enter the picture?
Yeah, so the Patriots are averaging 100 passing yards per game, so most of their production is coming on the ground. Ramondre in the first 2 weeks really was the focal point, and he was a huge factor. And then in week 3, Alex Van Pelt, their offensive coordinator, was like, okay, I think we've established the run. Maybe we can now turn to the pass. And then that game plan just didn't work out. So I expect them to return to the run game in week 4. I expect Ramondre to have a big role and reach his 20 plus carries. And I think the big thing with him, though, is ball security, because he has fumbled in each of the first 3 games. Just in weeks 1 and 2, the Patriots recovered the fumble, so it wasn't as consequential. But in week 3, he lost his fumble, and it could have been a turning point for the Patriots. So that's a big talking point this week, but I definitely expect Ramondre to return to form.
Nicole, if Patriots fans are impatient with this rebuild, who's I guess has the pressure on them here? Mayo's a first-year head coach. Is it the owner? Is it the owner's son? I mean, they moved on from Belichick. They moved on from Brady. Who's really wearing the pressure in that organization right now?
I would say it's the combination of Mayo and then their chief personnel guy, Elliot Wolf. They've been really working in tandem throughout the offseason since Bill left. And I think that like the hire of offensive coordinators on them, the selection of Drake is on them. Obviously, Elliott neglected the offensive line to a point that it's reached this product. So I would say that the two of them are at the forefront for sure. And they will be bearing whatever consequences or whatever positive productivity as well.
Nicole Yang of the Boston Globe, nice enough to join us here on Wake Up. Thank you so much for your time, Nicole. You know, normally when a new coach hits town, everyone starts looking for what he might be better at than the old coach. This is a very tough situation for Jared Mayo to step into because the old coach is arguably the greatest coach the game of football has seen. What, if anything, can you identify Mayo does that might be better? Maybe that's even a harder thing. Just what is different about him? Maybe besides the way he deals with media. What are your impressions, and how big a shoes has anyone ever been asked to fill? This feels like about a size 14 wide.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough situation. And for the reason you just described, like everything he does, I feel like is viewed in the context of like, how is this different from Belichick or how does this stack up to Belichick? But I think one of the biggest differences in how the team is operating now is the collaborative aspect. So he and Elliott are working in tandem. He and the rest of the coaching staff are working in tandem whenever they have to make these big decisions. And oftentimes under the Belichick regime, Bill would just make these unilateral calls, both in terms of personnel, both in terms of substitutions. He would just kind of reign on his own and not really consult the scouts or the coaches for their opinion. And even if he did, he wouldn't necessarily listen. So I think Gerard is really priding himself on relying on experts when it's not necessarily his strength, and just making sure that he's taking into consideration like the opinions of others involved in the building.
How do you and your fellow media members in New England feel about, basically watching Bill Belichick go with the I'm completely indifferent and uncooperative approach with media, to now watch him join the media and become an absolute darling? I mean, he's like the Ed McMahon of the Pat McAfee show. He is laughing. He is regaling us with stories that feel like they've fallen right out of the Hall of Fame. How are you guys feeling about the new 2.0 media-friendly Bill Belichick?
Yeah, it's pretty on brand for him. It's a little bit ironic, but Bill has always shown that he's able to turn on the charm and turn on this version of himself when he wants to. When he would go on College Game Day last year for the Army Navy game, he was just, as he is now, like a media sensation. It was kind of like a teaser to what everybody is seeing. But then literally later that week, he would come in and give us, his typical one sentence, one word, like mumblings. So everything Bill does is very calculated. I'm sure he wants to sort of show to the NFL world that he still has it. He still knows a ton about football. And I think the reaction he wants to elicit is, how could, seven organizations pass up on me this offseason?
Nicole, do you have a prediction for the game on Sunday?
So the line is like 10 and a half, right? So
Right.
I can't imagine the Patriots scoring more than 13 points, to be honest, just based on how the offense has looked. Even in their win, they only scored 16 points. So I could see it being like 13-24. I don't even like the game on Thursday, which was very clearly one-sided, very clearly lopsided. The score didn't really reflect it. Like watching the game, it felt like the score should have been 42-3 and it was only 24-3. So I don't necessarily know if the Niners will run up the score, but I would say like 27-13, 24-13. What about you guys?
It feels about right. It really does. The number 10 and a half is a big number. I mean, I think anyone getting 6+ has got a real nice record against the spread right now in this league. So I think we're watching the first 4 weeks of a football regular season turn into the new preseason. So coming up with a rock solid prediction of anything is harder to do now than it will be later in the year. So I don't know. The way things have gone for the 49ers out here, it's hard to depend on the things that you used to depend on. A stout defensive line, a secondary that's really improved, an offense that just churns out 30 points and no doubt yardage all the time. And it's been anything but that to start the year. So there's quite a bit of anxiety settling in over Santa Clara. I know that there's probably always impatience. Boston sports fans not really known for their patience. But you guys had a pretty damn good run. Everyone should be able to take a breath in New England and realize that this is you can't find a franchise going through a bigger reset, maybe in all of sports, than what the Patriots are going through right now.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. The thing, I think, the reason why the Patriot fans are growing impatient, though, is because this is year 5 now of post Brady, and it's just that other than the start of the 2021 season with Mac Jones's rookie year, it's really just looked like dysfunctional, incompetent, at the opposite of everything that they had showed during that 2-decade dynasty.
We'll see if they get it right at quarterback, right? That's what this league's about. But I'll say, I think this game's going to be closer. I think it's going to be more like, the 49ers defense is not playing well. 49ers special teams is not playing well. Marcus Jones is a great return man. I think New England's going to have at least one big return from Hasty or Jones. I think they're going to get over the top. The Niners are not defending verticals. I think Pop Douglas gets deep on the Niners. I think the 49ers should score 30, but there's this defense a little tougher. So I'll say it's 24-21 49ers. I think it's more of a close game. But I also think Brissett's better than other people think. And here's the other thing. The rest factor is kind of like the factor that nobody ever discusses in the NFL. Niners look tired. They look gassed. They look slow. They look tired. They look gassed. They just look like, Shanahan looks like he's run out of gas. They look like they've run out of gas. I don't know. I don't see. I think Niner fans are hoping for, some 35-10 blowout, and it could happen, but I don't see it. Nicole, awesome to have you with us. I know my connection's not great because I'm here at the stadium today, but thank you very much for jumping in with us on our show here, Wake Up with Damon and Larry. We really appreciate your time. If people want to follow you or want to connect to you in any way, what's the best way to, digest what you're putting out there around the Patriots?
Yeah. So all of my work is on the Boston Globe. So bostonglobe.com/sports. And then on Twitter, I'm at Nicole Yang, though I'm not very active on the platform.
Nicole, thanks for the time. Great stuff. We appreciate the spot, and we'll hopefully catch up with you down the road. And good luck to you this year. Have a great year.
Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good one.